What if you could take a static floor plan, draw invisible shapes on top of it, and let Power BI drive the colors of each room? That is what we are going to do in this video using Synoptic Panel, which is a tool that allows you to bind your data in Power BI to a diagram or a floor plan. This video is going to be divided in 5 parts. The first one, we're going to see the floor plan that we are going to be working with and the data. The second part, we're going to add the area. So yeah, we're going to draw every area on top of each room. Then we're going to connect those areas to the data in Power BI. Then we're going to apply conditional formatting. So the color of each room will depend on any metric. And finally, the more advanced solutions, we're going to be working with several floor plans at the same time. So for example, it could be several apartments or floor. So let's get started. And this is the floor plan, which is very simple. We just have a few rooms, for example, bedroom, bathroom, closet, kitchen. You can get this floor plan from Revit, AutoCAD, a PDF. What you need at the end is an image. It can be a PNG and JPEG, whatever you want. But the idea is to draw shapes on top of the image. And then finally, to bind, to match, to associate the data in Power BI to every room. Talk about data, this is the data that we are going to be using in Power BI. I already loaded it. It is very easy, very straightforward. We have for every room a work in progress percentage. This is a metric that is going to drive the color of each room. So now we have to draw each room on top of the image. So let's do that in Synoptic Designer, which is a companion of Synoptic Panel. Let's go there. Here in Synoptic Designer, we just have to upload the image. In our case, the one floor, that is the name, our one floor plan. And now let's draw a shape for every room. So some rooms are easy. For example, bedroom is just a rectangle. And also the living room is also a rectangle. And since we are doing this, it's very important that you rename every shape to match your data in Power BI. So let's go back to Power BI. For example, here is the data value for the living room. I'm gonna copy the value, or I can also type it down, whatever you prefer. But the thing is that it has to match the name of every shape. So this one is gonna be living room. This one was bedroom. Bedroom. Okay, I can also type it down if you want. Another more difficult shape is the closet. So in this case, I'm gonna be using the pen. For this one, you're gonna have to be a little bit patient. I'm not the best one at doing this. When you use the pen, you have to close the shape so you can get the final fill shape. This one was the closet. Now the bathroom, let's say that it is a rectangle just to save time. Right, here it is, just a little bit down, okay. And again, I have to rename it bathroom. And finally, kitchen plus dining. Let's say also that it is a rectangle. Here it is. Gonna zoom it a little bit with Control and scroll. You can zoom. And since I don't remember the name, I'm going back to Power BI and copy and pasting again. Copy value and let's paste it here. So what we did is we overlay shapes on top of our base image. Depending on your image, if it is transparent, so for example, an SVG, a PNG, those are or can be transparent, you can underlay, which is the opposite. In that way, the color is going to be below the main image. In this case, just to make it simple, we are overlaying the shapes. Now that we're done, we can finally export this floor plan and import it in Synoptic Panel. So I'm gonna click export. The name's gonna be map, and let's export it. I'm gonna save it as map. Now let's go to Synoptic Panel and import the image. Here in Power BI, just take your Synoptic Panel visual, let's increase the size, and the first step is to add in the categories well the room or whatever you want to associate with every shape. So our column is room, that is the name of the column. So now let's add the map. I click add map, local map, and then navigate to find finally the JSVG file. Perfect, so it seems that everything is working. Just to check if the naming is right, you can click on edit, and if everything is green, it means that it's okay. In case maybe you forgot to rename a shape, don't worry, you can manually force the binding by going here to data point and selecting the data value that you want. As you can see, this process was automatic because we did the work in Synoptic Designer, not here. But again, you can select a shape and select a data point. Let's close. And we have the final working map. Well, it is not that final because everything is blue. The idea will be to color each shape based on the work in progress percentage metric. That is what we are going to do. So now the next step is to go to the formatting pane in here, areas, and we're gonna do a conditional formatting, which is the regular conditional formatting of Power BI. I'm gonna press FX and we are gonna use a gradient. A gradient is a color that changes from a low value to a high value. So we want to use the work in progress percentage metric. So we do that by coming here and selecting the work in progress percentage column. And the color is gonna be from this one to, I'm gonna copy the color code from another part to this color. So going from gray to green. You can also use a more complex conditional formatting logic using DAX measure, but it is way more complex. But yes, you can do it. Once you have the DAX measure, you can select it from here, from field value. Let's keep it simple for the moment and let's click OK. So now you can see that this room seems to be, so the bedroom, more ready than the others. But we cannot see the layout behind, so the original image. For that, let's add a little bit of transparency, let's say 35%. I think it is more or less okay. So for that reason, sometimes underlay is better than overlaying the shapes, because in this case, underlay will have brought those color shapes below the main image. So the picture will be more vivid, more easy to read. Now let's add a data value. So we would like to see the work in progress percentage metric. For that, let's add here under value the column work in progress percentage, and finally activate the data labels. Yeah, it is okay, but the contrast is not the best. For that, what I recommend you to do is to, first step, increase the size because it is too small. So here on the text, let's select 15, a little bit better, not the best, the contrast. The most important part that I recommend you is to use the outline. And for that, I'm gonna change it to white and add an outline. This will increase the contrast. So the outline width, and let's say that is 5. And yeah, you can see the value much better. So now let's move to the more advanced part of the video. The idea will be to have several floor plans. So the first thing that we are going to do is to create a hierarchy. So starting from a building with several floors, we are going to create maps for each floor, and then using the drill mode, we are going to drill down into every floor to see the floor plan of that floor. So let's get started. Again, in Synoptic Designer, we have to draw the shapes for in this case, the building. So let's start navigating to the building image, which is this one. Very simple. It has 3 floors. So for every floor, we have to create a shape. In this case, I'm gonna use a pen. So this is the first floor. I'm gonna try my best to draw around it. So this is the first one. The name of the shapes here are also important. They are always important, but I don't remember the data value. So let's go again to Power BI. And in this case, I'm gonna use a different table. So as you can see, we have a hierarchy. So for floor 1, for example, we have several rooms. For floor 2, other rooms. So in this case, we have to rename every shape in the building to 1, 2, and 3. If you're interested in doing this at drill mode, we have another more in-depth video that you can find down in the description below. So for the moment, we know that the names are going to be 1, 2, and 3. Let's go back to Synoptic Designer. So this is the floor 1. Now to do the next floor, instead of doing it all over again, I'm going to duplicate. So right click, duplicate, so I don't have to do it from scratch. Well, it is not the best one, but I can modify each node. That is what I'm gonna do. I prefer doing this instead of doing it from scratch. This is floor 2. I think we're doing it faster than the first time. Well, it is not the best, but let's say that is okay. 2. And again, let's duplicate this one and create floor 3. Well, this one is not the best. Maybe it could have been better by drawing it from scratch. But it is getting okay. Finally, this is 3. And again, we need to export this and load it into Synoptic Panel in Power BI. Export. Let's call it map building 3D. Export. And save it. Now in Power BI, I'm going to use a new page because this is a different solution. So let's use a new Synoptic Panel instance. And the first map that we're going to load is this one that we just created. Just trying to move Synoptic Panel. Okay. So let's add the floor from all floors table, 1, 2, and 3. Add map, local map. It is this one. Again, a quick check by clicking edit. If everything is green, means that is okay. Load. And we have the first part. Again, just to repeat, if you want conditional formatting, you can do it by going to the formatting pane, areas, FX button, and we're going to use a gradient. So we are interested in the metric work in progress percentage from this table, the all source table. And let's change it from gray to green. Let's say this green. Okay. A little bit of transparency, 35%. Maybe a little bit more, 50%. And let's say that is okay. So now what we have to do is to create a hierarchy. How do we create a hierarchy in Power BI? Well, just by simply dragging and dropping into the categories well, the child, so the rooms. I'm going to drag room and drop it here in the categories well, and you can see that this has been created. these are the buttons to navigate the hierarchy. So now for each floor, we have to navigate the hierarchy by turning on this drill down option. Now we have the option to go one level down. So for example, let's do it for the first floor, and let's add the map. So for the sake of time, I already created the maps, all the floor plans for the floor 1, 2, and 3. So local map, the floor 1, which is this one. It should be okay. So let's see with edit. Everything is green, everything is working. Perfect. Let's go back and now select floor 2. Again, the same procedure, floor 2. Done. But remember to check if the binding is correct with your data. And finally, floor 3. So again, add map. And also this one should be okay. Edit, everything is green, perfect. Voila. So now we have the first advanced solution. This is a drill mode. Now let's move on to the map selector advanced solution. Another solution to work with several maps. Now, sometimes your maps are not hierarchical, but maybe you can switch them using a slicer. So by selecting a value in the regular slicer, the map changes. We have a more in-depth video about the map selector that I'm gonna be leaving in the descriptions down below. Here again, I'm going to add a new page to create this new solution. Again, I'm gonna open a new Synoptic Panel instance, and in this case, I'm not going to create the hierarchy. I'm going to directly drag and drop the room column into the categories well. And I'm going to directly add the 3 maps at the same time. So floor 1, 2, and 3. We can see here the 3 maps and done. Well, we can switch from this drop down the maps, but the idea will be to use a slicer in Power BI. This is a regular slicer, the one that maybe you are already used to. So we're gonna use that one to switch between the different maps. So the idea will be to select the floor. So I'm going to select here the floor and to switch from 1, 2, or 3. So let's modify the slicers that instead of a between, I want a vertical list. So the idea will be to select 1, 2, and 3 and to see that the map changes. Right now, it doesn't change. So what we need is a DAX measure, but you don't have to know DAX. You can just copy and paste. Here in the documentation of the map selector, you can come and copy and paste, and that's it. So let's do the DAX measure together. Here I right click and create a new measure. This measure is not about selected offices, but it is about selected floor. That is the name of the measure. And the column that we're gonna use is the floor one. So all floors table, floor column. And again in here, the formula requires to use again the all floors table, floor column. This is the DAX measure that will drive Synoptic Panels to switch the map. So let's do it. So let's add selector floor in the map selector field well. So now it seems that it's broken. What is happening is that Synoptic Panel doesn't know what map to show. So we have to associate the floor either 1, 2, or 3 to the right map. To do that, let's go again to the map editor in here in the pencil. So for example, for floor 1, we need to say, well, this is floor 1. Save and back. For floor 2, the same, this is floor 2, right? Save and back. And finally, floor 3. save and close. So right now, if I select floor 1, this is the floor plan for floor 1, this is floor 2 and floor 3. Finally, let's add again the conditional formatting. So the formatting pane, areas, and again a gradient. A gradient, again, based on the work in progress percentage metric. Let's do it a little bit different. So going from orange, passing through white to reach blue, just to make it different. And again, a little bit of transparency, 35%. So the same conditional formatting applies for all the floor plans. If you would like to switch to have a more advanced conditional formatting, again, you can do it by using a DAX measure and selecting fill value instead of gradient, but that is more advanced. So Synoptic Panel is a solution when you want to make your diagram or floor plan dynamic so that the colors of every shape changes according to your data in Power BI. The workflow is to get your image, draw the shapes on top of it or under it if you want using Synoptic Designer, and then import that map with the shapes on top of it into Synoptic Panel in Power BI. Thank you for watching.